So yes, that's right. I'm going to talk about the future of digital identity should be NFTs on Bitcoin, or at least on the Bitcoin blockchain in general. So has everyone heard about this AI thing too that's been happening, right? Has everyone heard about
Never heard of it.
deep fakes? They know what those are. And do people know what grandparent scams are? Grandparent scams when, you call up someone's grandparent and you're like, I'm your grandchild and I'm in jail. Please send me $5,000 to get out. And it works, right? They sometimes hack a Facebook account and like do it through the Facebook account or whatever. And now, thanks to AI, the cost of like being able to do that really convincingly, even with like an audio-based phone call where it's going to be a lot harder to detect, is now coming in that like someone got hit like this last week, right? You've actually seen people get hit by deepfakes, like crypto exchanges have gotten hit like this. So how do you deal with that, right? You kind of ultimately need like some kind of global trusted identity provider. And this obviously isn't something we're going to build tomorrow, but fundamentally, the only thing that is going to keep up with like computers being able to generate whatever they want is other computers being able to verify it. And I think that's where I see digital identity coming in and why it's so crucial. The second thing is, obviously, we're sitting here in beautiful New York City in the middle of like the financial and arguably legal ecosystems of America and largely the Western world. Like, we have a legal and financial system we can rely on really well, right? I could go and sign a contract with any single one of you right now, and I think for the most part, if you try and screw me on it, I can sue you, and like I can count that the court system's going to work it out. It might be a little expensive and annoying, but not being able to transact with you would be too. And we both got US bank accounts, right? And while we don't have some of the nice instant pay stuff that they do in Europe, I can still pretty easily like kick you a wire or an ACH, and unless you're a terrorist on a watch list, it's going to go through. That's not true if you're sitting in a lot of countries, right? There's a lot of countries, if you're down in South America and Southeast Asia, or in Africa, that you're not going to be able to do that. And so how do we solve those two problems, right? How do we give everyone on a global playing field access to the same ability to do business with each other, ideally on a trustless basis, and actually know who they are, right? And that's where it all comes back to digital identity. And then the controversial part, I'll say, again, being in the Ethereum conference, is we should be building that on Bitcoin. And the reason's simple, right? It's the biggest, it's the oldest, it's the most trusted ecosystem or crypto chain that's out there, right? You've already seen penetration of this into a number of different countries all over the world, remittances being moved onto Bitcoin, because again, it's just the thing that people have access to. And I will say I do big believer in the multi-chain world, and that we're not going to all be on top of one thing. But there's one real key thing. So how many people here are familiar with ordinals? Has anyone inscribed an ordinal? Should I explain what an ordinal is? Okay, so we used to think, and by used to I mean as of like December of last year, that all Satoshis, Satoshi being one little tiny bit that makes up a Bitcoin, so there's 100 million of them in a Bitcoin, we thought that they were all totally fungible, right? There's no way to tell them apart. Everyone's the same. And it turns out we were wrong. Turns out that if you look at where a Satoshi is inside a Bitcoin, and where a Bitcoin is inside a block, and where a block is inside a cycle, and where a cycle is inside an epoch, you can actually assign a unique serial number to every single Satoshi that has ever been generated. And then there's this other thing you can do using the Taproot upgrade, where you can actually write data to a Bitcoin transaction, right? And it was really intended in the vein of Bitcoiners really just like wanting to kill the Fed and be super private and secure, to like make it easier to make private transactions. But like, it's a text box on the internet, fundamentally, right? And if you give human beings a text box on the internet, usually they'll find a way to put porn on it, but also they'll find a way to put anything in it, right? And so the thing that was found is like, you actually have 4 megabytes per Bitcoin block that you can put anything into. I can go put a monkey JPEG onto the Bitcoin chain, and that's exactly what people have done with it. Actually, Yuga Labs did do an inscription mint called 12-fold, which is cool geometric patterns and stuff. They haven't actually put monkeys on it, but They sold 288 of them in 24 hours for $16.5 million. So that's a really unique thing, though, right? Because if you look at like Ethereum NFTs, right? Super huge market, obviously very liquid, but there's nothing actually on the chain, right? Like you've got a URL to an OpenSea API or an IPFS entry. You're still dependent on something else being there. Whereas with ordinals and inscriptions, the actual data that you want to write is on the Bitcoin chain, preserved and accessible forever to people. So you have the need for digital identity. You have a system that is all over the world, that is known, that is trusted, that is accessible, mostly accessible to people. We got to keep working on getting the cost of transactions down. And you now have the ability to write any data that you want actually onto that chain. And I think that is the unlock that's the third piece of the puzzle, the unlock that we need to actually potentially drive forward this ability to give everyone in the world equal access to digital identity on a decentralized and trusted basis. So now someone please go ahead and build it. Thanks. I guess I have 60 seconds. Any questions? Nope, I explained it all completely perfectly. Awesome. Thank you guys very much. What? I have a honey badger ordinal. I have my BNS zone file, BNS being the Bitcoin name system, which, by the way, does predate ENS, started its one name in 2014. So I've already started inscribing my identity on the Bitcoin chain. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.